Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of The Democratic View. And I'm the hostess, and my name is Phyllis Italiano. And today I have with me a woman who I owe a great deal to because of my eternal knee, I like to call it. She was the woman I went to in the office of the town clerk and said, I need some kind of a handicap thing. And she gave it to me, and her name is Carole Brennan. And right now, she's our assistant town clerk, running for town clerk. Yes. On 3 lines, I might add.
Yes.
Wonderful, and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, what we want to know, Carole, is all about you. Besides the fact that we've been all going to see you for years and years and saying, I need this, I need that. Where were you born?
I was born in Sag Harbor, raised in Sag Harbor, went to Pearson High School. I've been married for 41 years. I have 2 children. One still lives in Sag Harbor. She has 2 children that are still in Sag Harbor School. And my son lives in Springs, and he has 2. He has twin girls.
Aha. So you really have spent all your life in Sag Harbor.
I live right around the block from where I grew up, yes. I haven't gone far.
Gee, I can't tell you how many different places I have lived in. About 6. All over the country, I might add. But you know, there was an article in the Times, Sunday Times of last week, about Sag Harbor and how it is about to experience a real change when that Boulevard factory is completed and the underground parking and all of those condos are going to be occupied. It's going to be...
It's been a project for a long time in the making there. It's been underway. I can remember when I was a kid, my best friend's parents worked there. So it was, you know, the actual factory then, and it's going to be different. It's going
to affect the life of that town, which is, it may be unfortunate because that town, as opposed to Southampton and even East Hampton, sort of stayed pretty much the same.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was did not experience the influx of the rich and famous as the other towns have, and it really remained as a rural fishing kind of character to it. And now I do think it may change. But we'll have to wait and see about that. But what we want to know is, first of all, how come you are running for town clerk?
Well, I've been the deputy for 20 years, and
Deputy, you call it.
I just decided that it was
your
time to do it, and so I went for it. Went to all the parties and got all 3, and I'm thrilled to death.
That must be something because you're the only one I know who's got that, you know. So that's quite an accomplishment already because it means really you have the job. So what does the clerk do? What does the town clerk do? I mean, I've watched many a meeting where you were sitting up on that area, you know, on the side, sort of helping the progress of the town board meetings. Yeah. But what exactly does town clerk encompass?
Well, actually, the board meetings are really only just one aspect of the job. The town clerk is the record keeper for the whole town. You know, you have all your marriages, your deaths, your births that all get filed there, all the licensing. With the town board meetings, you have to do the agenda and the minutes and all the resolutions and local laws and file them. We have state licenses that we have to do, fishing for the DEC, all the dog licenses. There's so many state laws that, you know, you have to
Don't forget the
follow.
clam licenses.
All those licenses. There's a line there right now, all going in after those licenses.
Yeah.
It's
Well, when you get something like a fishing license, or do you have to renew it each year, or does it
yes,
last? You
no,
have to
no.
renew it.
The only thing that stays good is a resident beach permit. Everything else is a yearly license.
Oh, so that means my son has to get to renew his clamming license before long, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
They
do love
they
'em.
expire March 31st of each year, so we always use our April Fools as our date of
Aha.
you needed a new one. Dump permits, everything, same
And
date.
how and where are these records stored?
They are all stored in the building. Some of our very old records are still in the old building in the vault. We are going to get a new vault built into this building, so it can all come over. And they're just all in books. You know, and then each department has their own files that are kept in their offices too. But planning board and zoning board, all their minutes, they all come over to us as they're done, and they go into books, and they're all stored there.
Or is there ever going to be an attempt to put some of that stuff onto, online, that type of thing, or at least stored in computer files?
Yeah, I want to work on that again. We did have a grant one year back in the 90s, and we microfished a lot of the old records, so we still have that, but that's still outdated now too. We had tried for a grant a few years ago, and it fell through, so we'll have to try to do that again and see if we can get that. But the Minitrack system now that we have for our board meetings, for the resolutions and everything, that's all online, and I think the public likes that a lot, where they can watch a board meeting on the computer. So if you don't live here, you know, where you could get LTV to see it or something, you could watch it from your computer. And they can go on and search for all the resolutions themselves and see what's going on, and it seems to have worked out very well. There's a lot less people calling up and asking, can you get me this, can you get me that? Because they can go on now and they can get it themselves.
So how long have you been doing this?
I've been in the clerk's office since 1992 and deputy since 94. And I've been with the town since 89.
Did you have to run to be deputy, or were you appointed?
No, it's an appointed position. It's
So when
appointed
you
by the
get
clerk.
to be town clerk, you will appoint your own deputy?
Yes. That will be the hardest transition, trying to find somebody who will be able to fill my shoes. I'd like to have somebody who would really be interested in the job, maybe somebody who would, like to someday be town clerk themselves.
Now, do you have to be sort of obsessive about record keeping and organizing? I mean, I'm a retired teacher and school administrator. I always have been obsessive about things like that. Believe it or not, I still have my teaching portfolio and different courses that I taught from the 80s. I can't throw them away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know about that kind of personality.
Yeah. You definitely have to be interested in the job, in the, what it entails in order to make it work.
And when you first got your job in '89, where did you work?
I worked at the landfill and the scavenger plant. It all happened by mistake or accident or something. My husband had worked down there and his secretary quit. And him and the other gentleman that ran the place needed somebody to come in and type. So I just went in to type for them, and I enjoyed the people and everything, and stayed. And that's
Did you
how
learn
it
to
started.
type at Pearson?
No, I learned to type at Pearson.
Oh,
Yeah, when it
well,
was just one school for everybody. Now
Yes.
there's two.
And then where did you go after that? You went right into the town clerk's office?
Well, I was home with my kids for 10 years, and then went there, and after I started working for the town, then I went up to the town clerk's office, because it was the first time in '92, was the first time that they sold recycling permits. I was at the landfill when that whole thing was developed, and then they started selling recycling permits, and it was a big burden on the clerk's office then, to add all of that. So I went up there during the day and helped them sell permits, then went back and did the rest of the thing, and then eventually I just transferred up.
I don't know how many people really realize, first of all, the town of East Hampton is extremely large.
Yes.
I mean, from Waynescott to Montauk, it's quite a lot of people and living and space and land. And of course, a multitude of problems and a multitude of things that need to be. And the government is really quite complex. It's not as simple as one would think of, a small town.
Yeah.
Of course, it really isn't a small town. It's really quite a large town.
We're a lot smaller than our neighboring towns, but yes, we definitely are sizable, and there is a lot to it. A lot to it.
You think Southampton's bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
Southampton's from West Hampton all the way out to Waynescott.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of land. And so now you have these lovely grandchildren.
Yes, I do. I have 4 grandchildren.
And what are their ages?
Patrick is 13, and Chloe is 8, and Madison and Marianne are 6.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Lucky you, 4.
Yep.
And what do you actually see as things you might want to accomplish in your term will be how long?
4 years.
4 years. So if you're in for 4 years, what are you setting as your priorities of things you want to be able to get done?
I want to get the records done, and I want to get a little bit more done electronically for people. I want, right now I've been scanning in a lot of documents and being able to send them to people that way, and they really appreciate not having to come to get it, or even faxing. A lot of people don't have a fax in their house. They have a computer, but they don't have a fax. And a lot of times when you fax documents, they just don't come out where they're readable. So I'd like to really be able to get that all done.
How many people do you have working in your office?
There's 8 of us, because we have the Montauk office too. We have 2
I didn't know
offices that
you
we
had an
staff.
office in
Yeah,
Montauk.
yeah. We have an annex in Montauk.
Aha. And do they have the same kind of hours you do?
They have a little bit less, because the girls have to go from our office out to there, and then have time to travel back. But they do most of what we do. You can't do a marriage license or anything like that out there. You have to come to East Hampton for that. You have to come to East Hampton for a hunting license, because it's a DEC machine that we use. It's hooked right up to the DEC in Albany. So you have to come up there to get that.
The DEC controls
The hunting
the
licenses,
hunting
yes.
licenses? Really?
Saltwater fishing licenses, yes.
Oh, I know
That's
saltwater
all-
fishing
that's all through them.
licenses because that's what my son has, and I know that that's controlled by the DEC. And there was a big thing about that a while ago.
Yep.
About, do you remember what that one was about? About
With the fishing,
Yeah.
with saltwater fishing, where they were charging the $10 a year.
right.
Yeah, and then they put it on hold for a couple of years and finally just suspended it.
yes.
Yeah, you could buy, and a lot of people bought the lifetimes, but I think the ones that bought the lifetime supposedly got their money back. The people that bought them, the $10 a year, didn't get their money back. So,
I don't remember what he has, but he's out there fishing as many times as he can. But the big thing is to try to get, for instance, now I have a question. I want to know, where is the plans for my house stored? Where would I find that?
That's
Because
all.
I want to find out about the elevation, just in case another Sandy happens.
that's all over in the building department.
That's all over in the building. Well, so if you are an individual who wants to find out something like that, how do you go about it? How do you know where to go?
Most people call the town clerk's office, believe it or not, and ask where it is that they should go. But in the assessor's office is where your deed would be. The assessor has what they call a jacket on every single property in the town. And then the building department has one for each property. And all your files are in there. Anytime you've applied for a building permit and gotten a new CO or anything like that, that's all in the building department.
And you just call them up and say, I'd like to know.
Well, sometimes they require a FOIL request for a lot of documents that they give out.
Explain to the audience what a FOIL request is.
It's a freedom of information, and it's governed by the state. And you fill it out, and it's that you're asking for a document that you're looking for. And then it is decided whether it is something that is disclosable, and if it is, then you get your document.
And
that has definitely grown. We probably do more of them in a week now than we used to do in a year.
Really?
Definitely, yes. Yeah.
You mean everybody's fixing up their houses?
Well, it's not just that. People want, all different records. They want code enforcement records. There's a lot of different records that they're looking for.
But you can only get the records for your own house.
Oh, no.
I can't get the records for other houses?
You could get some records.
Really?
That's why you have to figure out if it is something that's public information or not.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that. As I said, what I'm interested in finding out is how high is my house? Because I said to a friend who lives over by the Talmadge Farm area, I said, there's water right over there. Another big storm, and you're going to have it. It's going to flood into your. And he said, no, I'm 27 feet high. And I said, I have no idea how high I am, and it's something I really need to find out. It seems as though anything you really want to do, there needs to be some kind of applying for something with the town. And I'm assuming that all of those requests come to you.
Well, not if you're applying for a building permit or anything like
Yeah,
that, or
well.
planning thing, but if you're looking for a record, the FOIL request has got to come to us first.
So you have also a new telephone system.
Yes, we do. Went out today for a few minutes.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Must
How many phone calls do you think you get in a day anyway?
It's got to be hundreds.
Really?
It's got to be, because you hear the buzzing all day long. It's very rarely that it's quiet.
And it doesn't unnerve you? It doesn't get you?
No.
You're able to keep it all
Yeah.
calm and quiet?
I'm a good multitasker, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Most mothers are. When you have kids, you
Yeah.
know how to do that
have
sort
to
of
do that,
thing.
yeah.
I think we were born doing that, women. I'm also wondering, since you were born and raised in Sag Harbor, I absolutely love that town. Although I do think it's windier and colder than it is in the springs.
Oh, really? No, I think it's warmer, because when I get to work, it's cooler.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes I think by 5 or 10 degrees in the summertime,
Well, that's
because you're getting the ocean breeze there.
when you get to where you are, you're right, because you're not far from over there.
Right,
But where I
where
am,
you're.
that way, it's, the bay is, the breezes off the bay are really not always that cold. And but I always found Sag Harbor to be very windy in the winter time. And now, was your mother and father also from Sag Harbor?
Actually, my father was born in Amagansett. My mother was born in San Francisco, but they did live in Sag Harbor, yes.
Well, I wonder how they met. San Francisco's a long way from Amagansett.
Well, they had come. My mother and her parents had come to Sag Harbor before, when my father and her met. So, and that's actually the house that we grew up in belonged to my grandparents before my parents bought it.
Oh my!
So it was.
Wow.
Just stayed
So
right
you
there.
really have long-term roots out here.
Yeah.
I envy people who have that. I really do, because my sister and I, we were of course born and raised in the Bronx, and when we and my parents moved to Westchester, and I spent a good deal of my life in Westchester, and when we used to go to Fire Island, and then also came out here after we left Fire Island, we would look at the fields with the sky meeting the land, and the flatness and the horizon and say, ah, what a beautiful place. We love Long Island. I think Long Island is very, very special.
Yes, definitely.
And we got to work very hard to keep it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it feel to be on 3 separate, very different tickets of political parties?
It feels good. It feels like a great accomplishment to have been able to do that.
Uh-huh.
It's not, especially since I was not an incumbent, where, you know, that's usually when you see it happen on more lines than one. But
Now, the one other subject I did want to ask you about was I have watched you at many meetings, and some of those meetings have been, I would say, hair-raising. It's about the best word I can think about it. I mean, I know what I'm doing. I used to go to them, and then I couldn't go to them anymore. And then I'm in my bedroom, and I'm yelling at the TV, and I often wonder how you are able to just sit there.
I guess you have to pretend it's your kids fighting and tune it out.
Oh, Carol, that's wonderful. Yeah, it's like
It's hard sometimes, but
yeah,
you know,
it must have been. Of course, you're not doing it now. Fred is doing it now. Am I correct?
he's been doing the Tuesdays. He did the last Thursday meeting where we take turns. Yeah.
I know I watched one meeting, I don't know how I got hooked into it. It was late at night. It was on for 6 hours. I didn't shut my TV off till almost 2 o'clock watching it, and then couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Couldn't sleep till 6 o'clock in the morning. I was so upset and saying, oh my God.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can't imagine how anybody could, just sit there and be a part of it and hear it all. It's quite amazing. Of course, the editorial in the Star this week was quite forceful in their view of the meetings.
I did not see that.
What?
I did not see that. I have not had time to
Oh,
read the
well,
paper yet.
You do have to read
Well,
it. You do have to read it because it's very strong, very strong. And anyway, I'm hoping that when you are serving as the clerk, because I mean, I'm considering you elected, unless there's a huge write-in, you are going to hopefully see a change, and hopefully there'll be some civility. And how many years did you actually do that job of sitting there and watching the town board were you there in Schneiderman's?
Yes. I started with Tony Bullock's regime. So I had Tony, I had Kathy, I had Jay, Bill McGinty, and Bill Wilkinson.
And you were always sitting in that chair?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my dear. How, you probably have post-traumatic stress disorder.
We used to have our, they used to call them brown bag meetings, where they call them work sessions now, in a tiny little conference room in the old building. And everybody would just be packed in there. And they'd start at 10 in the morning and sometimes go to 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Really?
And that's why they called it brown bag, because if you wanted to eat, you brought your brown bag lunch with you.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
They used to be very long.
Did they not have a Thursday meeting also?
No, they still had their Thursday meetings. They had a Thursday night meeting and a Friday morning meeting.
Wow. Yeah. When did that change?
I'm not sure when it changed to 2 Thursdays. They always had the Tuesdays. We always had the 3 Tuesdays, and that was in the conference room. And then we had 2 regular board meetings, one Thursday night, one Friday morning. Actually, when I first started, they were only Friday mornings. And then they added night meetings. So,
wow.
yeah.
And you can't remember who
I don't
Who-
remember which one of them started it.
Well, how can you possibly?
I think it was in Jay's when they started the night, but I'm not sure. It might have been Kathy's. It's been so long. I don't really remember.
And until 6 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, there was plenty of them that were.
Oh my God. You must have the best bladder in the
You could get
world.
up every once in a while.
Holy mackerel. I can't imagine that. That would be.
So when people complain now about the meeting going, from 10 to 12:30, that's nothing. Yes.
Well, if you've witnessed that kind of a thing, that must have been. But they were much calmer meetings, though.
For the most part, yes. Yeah.
Because I think it's the tumultuousness of the last couple of years that has really been difficult for those of us who try to watch it all the time until we finally say, now I'm saying to myself, I don't think I can watch them at night anymore, because if it's going to keep me up, and
Yeah.
I'm going to get so upset, I don't think I can. I'm going to be willing to sacrifice a night's sleep, But anyway, you have this term coming up, as we all know, since you have no opposition, and I can't imagine anybody who would want this job, and I don't think there'll be a write-in candidate. So congratulations.
Thank you.
A little premature, but I'm going to congratulate you anyway. We're looking forward to you continuing to ride a steady ship and give us all those licenses that we need to be able to go on with our lives and living in our beautiful, beautiful place that we are. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. It's been
Thank
a
you
pleasure.
for having me.
I know, and it's not, see, I told you it was not going to be so hard.
No.
So we're now off. We'll be on YouTube eventually.